Alright, I'm going to do this video that could be really long. I'm actually going to do it in two separate videos that you'll be responsible for watching today. Yesterday we looked at multiplication and division. And multiplication, you basically just kind of combine things straight across, top with top, bottom with bottom. Division, remember, we have to multiply by the reciprocal, so we flip it over and we multiply. Today we're going to be looking at adding and subtracting, which complicates things a little bit. If you think back to your first lessons about addition and subtraction of fractions, you'll remember that we have to have a common denominator before we can do anything like that. So let's take a look at this first problem right here. And I'm going to move through quick, knowing that we've got a lot to get to, and you have the ability to stop, pause, or rewind and listen to something if you need to hear it again. So we need to find a common denominator. As a reminder, that means that we are looking for the least common multiple. Well, the least common multiple between 5 and 10 is going to be 10, which means we need to multiply our 5 over here on the left by 2. And really the only number we're allowed to multiply by that doesn't change something is 1. So we have to find something that we will multiply over itself. So in this case, it is going to give us 2r over 10 plus 3r over 10. And we should, now that we have a common denominator, we can add the numerator. So 2r plus 3r is going to give us 5r. And we keep the denominator as whatever they have in common. So 5r over 10. We're not quite done yet. We can simplify a little bit, and this is going to end up giving us r over 2. Now, in its most simplest form, that is what we are doing today. I want to acknowledge that we're going to take some very complicated looks at this as we move forward. All right, problem 2. So today I'm basically going to work this entire worksheet, so just kind of hold on as I move through these quickly. We need to find a common denominator. The least common multiple will be 20x, which means we need to multiply 4x times 5. We can't simply do that to the bottom. We really have to multiply it by 1. And this is going to give us 19 over 20x minus 20 over 20x. 19 minus 20 is going to give us negative 1 over 20x, and there is nothing that we can do beyond that, so we're done. We leave it in this form. It's negative 1 over 20x. Problem 3. This is where it begins to get a little bit trickier. They don't have anything in common. X and y don't have a common multiple. So in this case, we need to multiply, and that is really our only tool, is multiplying. So we need to multiply the left by x over x, and we need to multiply this term on the right by y over y. And let's just check out what that gives us just in the denominator. X times y is going to give us xy. Alright, so my recording glitched just a little bit in case there's a little pause there. So let's see what that gives us in the denominator. X times y is going to give us xy. And over here on the right, we're going to get xy as well. So what does that mean for us up top? We will have x times x plus 2, and we will have 3y. As we kind of move forward, we can distribute that and see if it takes us somewhere. Let's kind of see if there's any like terms we can do when we distribute this x into x plus 2. So that will give us x squared plus 2x plus 3y all over xy, and that's about all that we can do here. Alright, problem 4. Again, things are getting a little bit more complicated as we go. So first step, let's actually figure out what we have in the denominator. And the best way to figure out the pieces that we have is to factor things. So I'm going to go ahead and factor the top just because this is, it may be helpful. I'll tell you, I don't really think it's something we're going to use, but let's factor the bottom. A squared minus 9 would be a plus 3 times a minus 3. All of this plus 1 over a plus 3. Now if you recognize we have an a plus 3 over a plus 3 over here on the left, but that's really not going to help us at this moment because we need that as part of a common denominator over here on the right. So the good news is in our left term over here we have part of what we need. We have a plus 3 and a minus 3. Over here we just have an a plus 3, meaning the only thing we need on the right, on this right term, is another a plus 3. So I'm sorry, we need another a minus 3. Over a minus 3. And let's go ahead and kind of combine some like terms. So we have 2 times a plus 3 plus a minus 3 all over our common denominator of a plus 3 times a minus 3. And what I want you all to recognize is that we cannot, because of this positive sign right there, we cannot cancel our a plus 3's or our a minus 3's. Okay, so let's redistribute. Ooh, and I'm running out of space. I tried to fit all this in. Our numerator, when we distribute the 2, is going to give us 2a plus 3 plus a minus 3. So really, when we say 2a plus a, that's going to give us 3a. And then our, 2 times 3 is going to give us 6, minus 3 is going to give us plus 3. All of this over, and we can put it back together, or we can leave it separate, but since I'm running out of space, I'm going to put this back together. This is going to give us a squared minus 9. And that would be your final answer. Alright, and I acknowledge that I'm going out of order, but I believe that 5 is, well, no, I'll continue on. 5 and 6, and then I'm probably going to jump to number 8 on this video. So this will be the longer of the 2 videos, but the other problems worked individually are going to end up being longer. Okay, so let's sort this out and figure out really what we have. So 10 over a minus b. And again, I wish I had strict directions on do this every single time, but it takes looking at these and sometimes just kind of playing around with it to really figure out what you have before you know what to do. This is going to be a minus b times a plus b, factoring difference of 2 squares. So since over here on the left we have an a minus b, and on the right we have an a minus b and an a plus b, it means we have to multiply this left term times a plus b. So we will end up with 10 times a plus b over the a minus b we already had times the a plus b that we multiplied in there, minus 6b over a minus b times a plus b. And finally we end up with 10a plus 10b minus 6b over a minus b times a plus b, combining like terms on the top, we get 10a plus 4b over, and then again we can put these back together, which I'll do. Yeah, I'm fine with you leaving them apart, but when we multiply these back together, it would take us back to a squared plus b squared. And again, nothing else that we can take out. So that would be final form. All right. Problem 6. Again, this is one where we kind of get back to the basics, and we're looking at the denominator here, and these two denominators have to be the same in order for us to add them together. Notice on the left we have a 6, and on the right we have a 3, so their least common multiple would be 6. On the left we have x squared, and on the right we only have an x, which means, so here I'm going to kind of add things that we need to multiply by as we go. Okay, so sorry, disregard those x's that I just drew. We need to multiply 2 over 2. 2 times 3 would give us 6. We are missing an x over here on this side, so we have to multiply by an x. And then over on the left we have 1r, but the other side we have 2r's, so we need to multiply by an r over here on the right. This is going to lead us to negative 7r plus negative 20x over 6x squared r squared and 6x squared r squared, which those top two are not like terms, so we're just going to leave it as negative 7r minus 20x over 6x squared r squared. Again, as far as we can take it. All right, last problem is number 8. The reason why I think 8 still falls in kind of this least complicated set of problems is we could easily factor out a 6 over here, and it would leave us with 6 times x plus 1, which really means the only thing we're missing over here on the right is a 6. And so we would have x over 6x plus 6 minus 6 over 6x plus 6, and that is going to be equal to x minus 6 over 6x plus 6. All right, take a deep breath right there. Let's take a break from working, and I'm going to come back and work 3 problems that are more complicated. Okay, they're going to be a little bit tougher. All right, so we'll stop right here.